Welcome on the Cosmic Atom. These 7 indicators suggest that you have been selected by God. There's a reason you're here. This message was intended for you. You sensed it for a long time. The notion that your life is unique, that you are not designed to follow the same route as everyone else. You encountered challenges, hurdles, and times that put your faith to the test. But deep inside, you know that something more is beckoning you. What if I told you that these challenges were not random? That the things you believe were holding you back were really preparing you for something much greater than you can fathom? The Bible makes it plain that God selects certain individuals for divine reasons. He does not choose at random. He separates those whom he summons, purifying them like gold in the furnace. But how will you know if you are one of the chosen? There are undeniable signals that God has put his hand in your life. And when you realize them, everything changes. You will never longer doubt your mission. You'll no longer feel lost. Instead, you will walk with confidence, wealth, and authority because you will finally grasp what has been going on in your life. Today, we'll look at 7 compelling evidence that God has selected you. These aren't simple thoughts. They are biblical realities that have existed throughout everyone's life. God has summoned Abraham, Moses, David, and Paul. If these signals appear in your life, you are more than simply another individual on this planet. You are a part of something much larger. Your trip is not random. Your problems have a purpose. Your existence has divine importance. Are you ready to find out whether God has anointed you for something extraordinary? Sign 1. A strong feeling of purpose that will never wane. You'd always known you were different. Others are pleased with a basic lifestyle. You have never been able to accept a life without significance. There is something within of you that desires more than just existing, more than simply working for money, more than just being. It's as if your heart is restless, always looking for something more. That's because you were meant for more. In Jeremiah 1 verse 5, God claims to have known you before you were born. I set you aside. This signifies that your calling was bestowed upon you before you breathed your first breath. Your mission was determined long before the rest of the world knew your name. This strong feeling of purpose does not dissipate with time. It is neither a fleeting emotion or a brief inspiration. It's a relentless call that can't be ignored, a voice that cannot be suppressed. No matter how hard you try to avoid it or how many diversions you attempt to shut it out, it always finds you. Look at Joseph in the Bible. From an early age, he had aspirations of grandeur. He had visions of his family kneeling down to him. Those dreams were not just random ideas. They were heavenly insights into his fate. But what occurred after the dreams? His brothers had deceived him. He was sold into slavery. He was wrongfully charged and incarcerated. To the outsider, it seemed like everything was coming apart, like those dreams were nothing more than fantasies. Even in the darkest jail cell, Joseph maintained a strong sense of purpose. Something within him sensed God had bigger plans for him. Eventually, his aspirations came true in ways he could not have anticipated. The same thing is occurring in your life. Setbacks, betrayals, and periods of doubt. These are not symptoms of failure. These are evidence that God is preparing you. He is shaping you so that when the time comes, you will be prepared. Have you ever pondered why you don't fit into the world's way of thinking? Why the desire of wealth and luxury does not fulfill you? It's because your soul recognizes there's more. You're not meant to lead an everyday existence. You were picked to change people's lives, influence others, and bring God's presence into the world. This unshakable feeling of calling, this yearning for something more, it is the first clear indication that God has selected you for something remarkable. Signed for tough spiritual struggles. There is something you must comprehend. When God picks someone, the adversary pays attention. The moment you embrace your heavenly calling, Resistance arises. Attacks and betrayals. Sudden disasters. These aren't coincidences. They are proof that you are a threat to the kingdom of evil. Look at Joseph's narrative. God gave him visions of power, affluence, and dominion over countries. So what happened next? His own brothers turned on him. He was forced into a hole, sold into slavery, and wrongfully accused. It seemed like everything was coming apart. However, in actuality, God was preparing him for his destiny. This is what many selected individuals go through. The opponent seeks to stop you before you can fulfill your destiny. The assaults originate from unexpected sources, including family, close friends, and trusted individuals. You may experience rejection, others misinterpreting you, or circumstances in which everything seems to work against you. But here's the truth. If you are not called for something extraordinary, you will not be a target. Spiritual wars occur because the adversary recognizes who you will become if you continue to walk with God. Look at Job. He was a guy of enormous money, splendor, and luxury. He had everything, a family, wealth, and dignity. But suddenly he lost everything. The enemies assaulted all he had. But why? Because Job was God's chosen guy. In the end, what happened? God restored him, giving him double what he had lost. The adversary does not target persons who do not pose a danger. The fact that you have experienced difficulty, suffering, and challenges is a sign that God is with you. It signifies that your mission is so great that the opponent is attempting to stop you before you even walk into it. Sign 3. Drawn to virtue. Even when challenging, there is something within you that will not allow you leave God. Even if you stumble, even if temptation surrounds you, you're drawn back by a strong conviction within. That's not typical. That indicates that God has chosen you. The world tells you to pursue money, luxury, and wealth without contemplating the consequences. It tells you that you can do anything you want, live as you want, and that nothing really matters, but something within you rejects that notion. You experience the consequences of your deeds. You cannot be content in sin. That is God's hand on your life. Look at David. He was anointed as king. Nevertheless, he committed catastrophic blunders. He committed adultery and arranged a murder. Even yet, he was referred to as a man after God's own heart actions. 13:22. Why? Because when he fell, he always returned to God. His spirit couldn't endure being parted from him. That is the difference between someone who is just religious and someone who has been selected. Many individuals sin without feeling anything. But when you're selected, sin causes you to feel alienated. You may attempt to ignore it, but something within you keeps drawing you back. That is because God will not let go of those he has chosen. You've seen this in your own life. You attempted to fit in with the throng, to live like everyone else. Yet something always drew you back. You can't appreciate what others do without feeling empty. Money, luxury, and success. It may feel wonderful for a minute, but it never fulfills. When God picks a person, he implants his spirit inside them. That is why you have conviction while others don't. That is why you're uneasy in areas where others rejoice. It is because you do not belong in this world. You belong to God. This belief is one of the most obvious signals that you are selected. It demonstrates that God's love for you is so powerful that he will not let you kill yourself. He will keep calling you back and tugging you towards righteousness. I signed for miraculous provision. There are occasions in your life when you should have failed and lost everything. But somehow, God provided a way. This isn't luck. This is not a coincidence. This is heavenly providence. And it is one of the most obvious signals that you have been picked. God provides for those whom he calls. This does not imply that life will always be easy or that money will fall from the skies. It implies that even in the worst-case scenarios, God provides you with all you need to keep going ahead. Look at Elijah in 1 Kings 17. There was starvation throughout the country, no food or water, and yet God sent ravens to feed him. When the water dried out, God sent him to a widow with just a handful of wheat and oil remaining. She believed she would die, but her supply never ran out. That is how God operates in the lives of those he selects. When it seems that there is no way, he makes one. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in a scenario when you had no money, resources, or a plan, yet still managed to get through? Perhaps you lost your job, but an unexpected opportunity arose. Perhaps your funds were tight, but then the appropriate amount occurred at the ideal moment. Perhaps you encountered an impossible circumstance, yet doors opened in ways you couldn't describe. That's not luck. That is God's divine provision. God's provision extends beyond financial resources. It is about direction, security, and possibilities. He often blocks the incorrect pathways, ensuring that you get at your destination. He eliminates poisonous individuals from your life. He locks doors that you asked him to open, only to reveal later that he was protecting you from something catastrophic. Look at Joseph. He was sold into slavery. That looked like a defeat. However, in actuality, it prepared him for the palace. He was placed in jail. Another defeat. But that defeat put him in the ideal position to be promoted to second in command of Egypt. Every loss was God's providence disguised. That's how God works. Initially, his supply may not seem to be a blessing. It could seem as rejection, suffering, or failure. However, if you reflect on your life, you will see that every time anything went wrong, it ultimately led to something greater. Sign 5. Carrying the weight of others' troubles. There is something unique about you. Others spend their life just for their own achievement, comfort, and prosperity. You have a deeper feeling. You feel the weight of the planet. You're strongly affected by other people's sorrow. When you observe injustice, misery, or people hurting, you can't just turn away. This isn't a personality feature. This is a heavenly sign. Look at Nehemiah. He lived comfortably, serving in the king's palace. He had access to riches, power, and luxury. Nonetheless, he cried when he learned that Jerusalem's walls had been demolished. Nehemiah 4 verse 4 states, "When I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For many days, I cried, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven." Why would a guy with everything feel so strongly about something that did not directly harm him? Because he was chosen, and those who are chosen have God's responsibility for the world. This is most likely something you have encountered in your own life. You feel compelled to assist when no one else does. You can see beyond the surface. You see spiritual struggles, hidden anguish, and possibilities to make a difference while others just pass by. Perhaps you gave to someone in need while having little for yourself. Perhaps you remained up late praying for folks who had no idea you were interceding for them. Perhaps you've been compelled to serve, lead, or battle for something greater than yourself, even if it didn't make rational sense. That is the hallmark of a person who has God's heart. When you are selected, your soul cannot remain at rest while others suffer. Your load is evidence of your calling. Sign 6. Divine separation from certain individuals. Have you ever pondered why certain individuals left your life? Why do some friendships, relationships, and even chances terminate unexpectedly? It may have seemed like rejection, but it was really God's protection. When you are selected, God will remove you from the unsuitable individuals, not to punish, but to prepare you. Look at Moses. He grew up in the Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by riches, luxury, and power. However, when God was ready to utilize Moses, he drew him away from that existence. Moses had to abandon his rank, relationships, and everything familiar before he could pursue his calling. This is the way God works. If you were selected, You cannot remain linked to those who do not serve your purpose. It doesn't matter how long you've known them, how much you care about them, or how much you wanted them to remain. If they are not in line with what God is doing in your life, they will be eliminated. This separation may occur in unpleasant ways, such as betrayal, misunderstanding, or unexpected distancing. Other times, it comes gradually as your interests, values, and spiritual development draw you in new ways. Look at Joseph. His own brothers had deceived him. The individuals who should have helped him hurled him into a hole. But they intended ill. God utilized for good. Without such treason, Joseph would never have reached Pharaoh's throne and ruled Egypt. Some folks are not prepared to handle your call. Some folks aren't intended to be in your next season. Keeping them in your life will only slow you down, distract you, or drag you away from your goals. You may not comprehend it right now, but you will someday. Thank God for each door He closed, because every time God eliminates someone from your life, He creates space for somebody better. Sign 7. Attacked, but not vanquished. You've gone through things that should have ruined you. There were times when you believed you wouldn't make it. There were times when the pressure was too much, when the loss became excruciating, when the treachery ran too deep. You are still standing. That is not an accident. The adversary has done everything to stop you. He has targeted your mind, money, relationships, and tranquility. He's exploited people against you. Circumstances are against you. Even your own ideas work against you. But God never allowed you to be defeated. Look at Paul in 2 Corinthians 4 verses 8 to 9. He explains, "We're hard-pressed on all sides, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not discouraged. Persecuted, yet not abandoned. Struck down, yet not destroyed." That is the life of one chosen by God. The assaults come, but they cannot quell the storm's fury. But they don't break you. The rationale is straightforward. You're not battling alone. Look at Job. He lost everything: his family, riches, and health. The enemies attempted to steal everything from him. But in the end, God restored him and gave him double what he had lost. This is what occurs when you are selected. The war is real, as is God's protection over your life. You have gone through the flames. Nonetheless, you are still here. You have fought wars that others did not survive. You are still standing. That is because God has placed His hand on your life, and no hostile strike can modify His plans for you. This is the ultimate and strongest indication that you have been selected. You've been assaulted, but never vanquished. And if you're still here, that indicates God's not done with you yet. If you realize this reality in your own life, and you know that God has brought you through conflicts that should have killed you, then prepare. Because the future outweighs the past. What will you do now that you've recognized the signs? The issue is, what will you do with them? You can't disregard what you just learned. You're not here by chance. God has been calling, purifying, separating, and protecting you because you are special. You were picked. However, being selected involves more than simply knowing. It is about acting. Will you embrace your mission or let fear keep you back? Will you accept God's call or continue to doubt it? The time for hesitation has passed. The fights you fought were not just to make you stronger, but also to prepare you for what is ahead. So, what are your next steps? Will you make a commitment to pursue God more deeply? Will you give up your goals, fears, and aspirations and believe that His plan is better than anything you could have imagined? Because the fact is that you were never supposed to live a normal life. You were picked for something more, and now it's time to get into it. If this message touched your heart, please sure you subscribe so you never miss another life-changing insight like this one. If you are ready to follow your calling, watch the video on the screen right now. It will lead you further into your divine destiny. Your adventure is just starting. God has much more for you. Dear viewers, your support through Super Chat and membership is the only source of income that keeps this channel running. If you want me to continue uploading valuable content without delays and to stay motivated in providing you with the best wisdom, I need your help. Every contribution, big or small, makes a huge difference. Feel free to donate and support Pure Wisdom so we can keep growing together. Your generosity keeps this journey alive.
If you're enjoying the content on Pure Wisdom and find value in the messages we share, I encourage you to subscribe. Based on the latest analytics, 93.9% of viewers are watching without subscribing. By subscribing, you not only stay updated with new content, but also support the channel's growth, allowing us to continue spreading wisdom for the chosen ones. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important message. Let's build this community together.